Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. Today we are going to review Terragon, Symbol of Magic VR, a game released on the Steam store yesterday, September 8th, 2021 by developer Reality Shift Studios. It's available for all the major VR headsets. It released in early access. It normally retails for $20. I got a free Steam key through the Steam Creator Connect program to review this game. I tested this game out on the Oculus Quest 2 using the Oculus Link cable. Terragon, Symbol of Magic is described by the developer as a first-person RPG for VR. It is fully magic-based, so you do play as a magician, and you do have lots of different spells to play with as you dungeon crawl through randomly generated levels. Now, it is in early access, so this game may change in the future, but in its current state, I found the game to be too simplistic. The first thing that stuck out to me was the UI and how clunky it was. Another thing is just how forgettable the different dungeon levels are. You start seeing patterns of the same type of dungeons that are slightly configured differently with maybe different enemies, but you do see lots of repeats of the same enemies. But the thing that really brings the whole experience down is the combat. It's too basic, it's too simplistic. I found myself just spamming the same spell over and over again and using the same strategy, which is to upgrade my primary magic attack base spell, upgrade it all the way to 10, and if there's another spell that's unlocked, then upgrade that one to do more damage, and you basically just spam the same spell over and over again. Now, these are gesture based spell attacks, so to begin your magic spell you do need to make the gesture for the spell, but you can make different gestures to get different spell effects, and in my video you'll see that I pretty much spam the same spell over and over again. It's not till the very end that I use a different spell, but I really didn't have to. I could just spam the same spell over and over again, and you'll see that I wasn't really ever losing any health and my mana was almost always full. The biggest danger was just the cooldown of the spell. That's really the only issue. For whatever reason, there is a cooldown between gestures for the spell, so you do need to wait a little bit before you can begin a new spell, but it doesn't matter if you're using different spells or the same spell, you still have that same cooldown. Now, for whatever reason, you'll only use one spell at a time. Yes, you can switch between spells, but at the end of the day, you can only use one spell at a time. So no, you can't have one spell in your left hand and another spell in your right hand. And just to tell you how non-challenging the combat was, I never once used a health potion or a mana potion during my gameplay, except for during the tutorial where you're told to do it. There's also gear that you wear that you can upgrade as you go along, so you have like a headpiece, you'll have like an amulet, rings, etc. But I never really found myself worrying about it because it never really mattered, because like I said, I was hardly taking any damage and I just got the highest gear that I could get, sold the rest, never really worried about upgrades to my gear or really anything else other than upgrading the primary spell, attack. Terragon, Symbol of Magic is running on the Unity engine. On my RTX 3080, I was getting steady 90 frames per second for the most part. I did notice maybe a drop or two, but nothing serious. The game ran fine for the most part. Unfortunately, there weren't very many settings available in the options. There were no graphical settings. The only settings I found were for either turning on full locomotion or smooth and snap turning, and you can also set the angle for the snap turn. Unfortunately, the smooth turn I found was a little too slow, so I did end up using snap turning. I only experienced one serious issue during my playtime with this game. I did experience a hard crash while playing this game, but it only happened once, and other than that one issue, I did not experience any other serious issues. The only other thing worth mentioning is that sometimes the gesture would not take, especially if I was moving, but I found that if I stood still and did the gesture slowly, it would always work, except for this one magic spell that was pretty complicated to draw. At level 20, you're given this new spell to draw, and it's like a star inside of a circle, and that thing maybe worked a third of the time, so beware of that. The simple gestures tend to work fine, especially if you're still. However, the more complicated gestures seem to not work very well. Now, I only got to level 20, so I didn't see all the content in the game, but what I saw was just a bit on the repetitive side. There were some boss fights, and there were definitely different quests with different goals, but at the end of the day, every single quest felt the same because no matter what, you're always going down a dungeon dungeon crawl and just culling anything that moved. And from the first dungeon crawl quest I took to the last one at level 20, I was always spamming the same spell, the strongest spell that I had, and upgraded all the way to the max. And there was never any strategy in between all those levels in my almost 3 hours of game time. So I simply just can't recommend this game as it currently stands, but it is in early access and there are some positives to this game. There's different gear with different stats like crit, like health, like mana regeneration, and there's different enemies. Although I will say the enemy AI needs to improve a lot, because right now it's just a matter of how strong is your spell and how fast can you take down enemies. In my case, with all the gear and all the upgrades I had, there really never was any challenge during my time in this game. I took down enemies fast and just went as fast as I could through these levels. And honestly, nothing really stands out about this game, other than there are some nice mechanics in there, such as, like I said, different stats in your gear, different upgrades, new spell unlocks, different enemies appearing as you go along. But the different enemies kind of just feel like different skins because they don't do much. I definitely think if you're a VR veteran and you've played other action RPG games in VR, this will be very underwhelming. However, if you're new, if you're a casual player, this might be something you enjoy if you want like that power fantasy where you just go in a dungeon and just obliterate everything in your path. There may be enough here to entertain you. So if I have to rate Terragon, Symbol of Magic, I would give it a 4.5 out of 10. I just think it's very underwhelming, especially for VR veterans. Anyways, I'm Fast Lawyer. If you enjoyed my review, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.